Okay, so today we're going to take a quick look at the process of preparing to transform an image of a topography into an actual topography using the software Rhinoceros 3D. So the first thing that I need to know is how big my topography actually is. So what I'm looking at here is an image of a map that I've drawn, and I know that I'm working at a scale of 1/8 of an inch equals a foot. So how do you know that? Well, you would have had to know that to make this image, or if you're using a topography that's given to you, then that information should be provided to you as. So I know what the scale of this image is, and I know how big this image actually is. Since I drew it, I know that this square here is 15.5 inches by 15.5 inches. Now, eagle-eyed viewers may also note that I am in Illustrator, so I could also just click on this thing and look at the properties window and see that that square that I have selected now is that size. The reason that this is important is because I need to recreate this frame of reference so that I can accurately translate one set of curves in one place into another set of curves in Rhino. So if I know that this image is 15.5 inches by 15.5 inches, and I'm working at a scale of 1/8 of an inch equals a foot, then I can simply multiply those 15.5 inches by 8 to figure out what size this topography is in real life. That means that this 15.5 inch image represents a 124-foot landscape. Knowing that, I can hop over to Rhino and create a frame of reference for myself that I'll use to match these image sizes. So if I click on this frame, go into the top view, maybe run a dimension command from this part to this part, I can see that I'm looking at 124 feet right there. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use the command picture, and I'm going to browse to this file, and this can be any picture file. You can scan it in, you can breathe in with your phone and then straighten it, but it needs to be straight and it needs to be dimensionally accurate. So I'll select that file, I'll open it, and it's going to give me some kind of draggy window here, so I'm going to get it kind of close. And then what I'm going to do is I need to scale this image so that it matches my frame of reference. So because this is Rhino, I can just treat this picture like it was a normal plane, because that's what it's built onto. So if I select this and I say move, maybe I'm going to take it and I'm going to go to this corner here, and I'm going to snap this corner to this corner. Now you can see it's not the right size, so what I'm going to do is reselect this picture, and I'll zoom out a minute so you can see that I've selected it, and I'm going to scale it. My base point is going to be the points where I made them line up. I'm going to grab the opposite corner. It'll automatically constrain my proportions. And I'm going to snap those two things together. If I go back to the perspective viewport and I drop it, you can see that I've now matched the boundaries of my topography with my frame of reference in Rhino. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to start tracing these curves. Now I'm going to do this using the control point curves, and I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to start, oops, I already had something selected, so let's try that again. Turn off my pesky center snap there, that'll help things. There we go. And you'll notice that I'm getting pretty close here. How close you need to be, well, that's up to you, but you can easily adjust this by selecting the curves, grabbing these control points, and just kind of scooting them around a little bit, snapping them right to the curve. Right, there's one. Now I just need to do this for all my other curves, which could take a while. Now, some of you may have noticed that I was in Illustrator. I could have just exported all of these from Illustrator, but if you're working from a JPEG or hand-drawn file, this is kind of your best bet. You could try to do an image trace in Illustrator, but that is, sometimes it takes longer to clean that up than it is to just go through and draw these curves. Now, luckily, I have already done this, so we're not going to do this live. So if I go back to my perspective viewport, I can select this curve over here, delete this. I'm going to go through and I'm going to activate my curves that I've already traced. You can see how that looks if I move this out of the way. Then the next thing that I'm going to have to do is to start sending these curves to the proper elevations. So all of these contour lines represent a specific elevation along the z-axis right here. And I need to figure out where they're supposed to be so that I can move them off of this control plane. The easiest way to do that is to simply look at the numbers. Now, if you have a GIS map, these are probably just going to be numbered. I went and I numbered them myself so that I could easily do this next step instead of having to constantly count them and figure out whether or not I was going up or down. I know I'm starting at this lower elevation and I'm working my way up towards these higher elevations. So as I go through, I can just simply go through and grab these curves and say, move up to 2. Now you move up to 3. And so forth and so on until I move all of these things to their appropriate height, which is going to end up looking something like this. So the very minimum that you're going to need in order to make a landscape or a topography out of an image like this is to have all of these curves recreated and then moved to their respective heights.